One of the greatest gifts I can give my clients in couples therapy is I can demonstrate what it looks like to participate in healthy, calm, compassionate conflict. In most relationships, we either have a tense peace or a raging conflict, an angry conflict, a conflict that doesn't actually help solve anything, it just makes things worse. Whereas the solution to relationship problems is conflict, it's just a different kind of conflict, a friendly conflict, calm conflict, a conflict where I tell you what I think, you say what you think, and neither one of us gets angry. That's the core of a compassionate, productive conflict. That's one of the most important things for me to demonstrate as a couples therapist. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'm sitting with a couple and one of the people in the relationship has a tendency to not answer the questions I ask. And so, for example, I might ask a question and they respond with a story that's not related to the question. And then I ask another question, they do the same thing. I ask a third question, they do the same thing. So at that point I have a choice. I can either just kind of pretend that they're collaborating when they're not, or I can bring what's happening into the light. So there's this behavior that's happening that no one's talking about, where I, as a therapist, I'm trying to help this couple create a better relationship, and every time I ask this one person a question, they dodge the question by telling an irrelevant story. So what I would do in that situation is I would say, I noticed that the last 3 times I asked a question, you started telling a story that didn't have anything to do with the question that I was asking. And so that person's probably going to get a little defensive, and they might say, no, I didn't. Those stories were totally relevant. I was trying to answer the question. If you just give me time, or whatever. They might also just really confront themselves and say, I see what you're talking about. The key here is that it's so important for me as a therapist to hold on to myself and to stay in a place of compassion and friendliness. So if this person gets defensive, my natural instinct is to also get defensive, and we might get into some sort of a contest of wills, which is completely not productive and not what I'm trying to demonstrate at all. So it's important for me to hold on to the idea that this person gets to have their own perception and they get to see things the way they see them, and I get to hold on to my perception and see things the way that I see them. And what I'm trying to demonstrate is, how do I share my perception of what's happening in a kind and friendly and compassionate way? Because this is the skill that's most lacking in most unhappy relationships.